The market is volatile, the stocks keep going down. Then boom, we hit new highs. Everything is different now, but you don't gotta chase. Don't panic, don't stress. Time to realign, plan it out, invest. It's the First Fruits Podcast. We elevating with the First Fruits Podcast. No time for waiting, time to grow, give back, reinvest like that. Everything you need to know, the First Fruits Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the First Fruit Stock Club podcast. Yeah. Yeah. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're having a wonderful week. I am having a snowy week, and a lot of America's is experiencing a lot of snow right now. It's crazy. The kids have been out. Man, I used to love snow days when I was young. And my friends and I grew up in an area called Randallstown, Maryland. And we would, on snow days, of course, if we had the whole day, that would be great. But we would be out over each other's houses. That isn't as prevalent right now. But anyway, we would go to each other's house and we wouldn't play video games. What we would play is we would play Monopoly. Like Monopoly would be the game, right? Myself, my best friend Eric, we would be playing Monopoly all day long. That was our game. But as kids, it was great to have the snow, the day off, didn't have to worry about school, and I think they will possibly be off the entire week. So it's important. That I also want to keep them active. All right, so let's get into the show today. I have a bunch of topics I'm going to go into today. Today we're going to discuss, Trump accounts. All right, the president was on the news today discussing Trump accounts. We're going to go into the dollar, right? The dollar's been losing a lot of value this year. It's important so you understand the relationship between the price of the dollar and the reason why commodities. We're going to talk about gold, right? Why is gold running? So we're going to show the relationship there. We're going to go in the charts and we're going to do it, okay? All right, so let's move forward. All right, to the next section. So please, everyone, I just ask you if you can like, subscribe, and share my show. It's important that I'm trying to get my message out there. I'm trying to grow my subs. My subs are at 700. I'm trying to get it up to 1,000. Once I get to 1,000, then I think that you are monetized. That's what they call it. So my goal is to get to 1,000 this year. So hopefully I'm bringing valuable content. If there's some things you want me to discuss, send me a DM. All right. Say, look, I want you to talk about this. I want you to go into this. But today's show, before I get into that, let me get a quick disclaimer. The information provided in the First Fruit Stock Club podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial investment or tax advice. The views expressed by the host and the guests are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any financial institution or regulatory authority. Investing in stocks and other securities carries risk, including potential loss of principal. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always conduct your own research and consult with a licensed financial professional before making any investment decisions. The First Fruit Stock Club and its affiliates do not guarantee any specific outcomes or returns. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own investment decisions. All right, so look, Today's topic is how to turn option profits into monthly dividends. How to turn option profits into monthly dividends. And the reason the reason why I wanted to discuss it because man, commodities have been on run, and I've been able to capture at least gold. Right, gold has been one that I've traded, but I'm very cautious right now of trading. And what I like to do is what I try to teach everybody. Dividends is the way to go, right? Because dividends help you on your monthly income, right? You can improve your lifestyle, especially the price of the dollar going down and knowing that the money that you're earning from your job isn't worth as much. So dividends is always a way to go. But in order to get the amounts you need to make dividends really significant, you need to do a trade every once in a while, right? Have some trades, some options. And then what happens is you get to a certain amount on your dividends, and then the dividends begin to compound on themselves, right? So you get it. So then you can just take the dividends and reinvest it, right? And keep reinvesting. And then you create what's called a snowball effect, right? A snowball effect where the dividends start growing on themselves. And guess what? We can start taking the dividends and reinvesting them back into a long-term portfolio. We take the dividends and then we invest in some leverage plays into stock options. We can do all those things once we just need to start, right? But once we kind of get that dividend engine running, right? But also starting a basic long-term portfolio. And once we get those together, then we can really start moving the portfolio. But we do have to have some trades, right? We got to have some trades sometimes that allow us to get the capital we need into the dividend funds and the dividend stocks to make the dividends significant, where they start growing to a standpoint where you go to 100 a month to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, and 5,000 to 10,000. You get to $10,000 a month in dividends, right? And I have achieved that, right? Just let you guys know I'm not just talking on here. I've done that, but I've done it through my trades, right? I've done it through trades, right? I've done it through trades, and I've also done it reinvesting. All right. But so let's look at the market. Let's look at the market topics, what's going on. So option profits and the monthly dividend income. Let's look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average close today, up barely about 12 points. S&P down 0.57 points, and the NASDAQ up 40 points. All right. So we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it is down 515 points since last week. I compare week to week, and I always say, look, the stock market is a time machine, right? And I like to look at a reference week to week, so we can tell them if the time machine from the last week, how did the time machine do? Is it positive, right? Is it positive and moving forward and compounding forward? So when it moves forward, it compounds forward. When it moves back, it discounts backwards, and it says, look, hey, we don't think the stock market is worth where it's currently at. So we're going to start going backwards and discounting the stock back. But when everything is enthusiastic, everyone is positive, right? The stock market compounds forward. But understand, it compounds forward 75% of the time, right? Think about it. The people that are investing in the stock market, everybody's invested and wants the stock market to move up, right? Move up and forward, up and to the right. And when we look at these stock charts, right? But what happens is sometimes, like I said, it discounted. So this week it says the Dow Jones said, hey, look, we're going to reevaluate, and we think that it's the Dow Jones is moved too much. I like the Dow Jones this year. Man, I like the S&P also. The NASDAQ, I think, will do well, but I think this year the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 will do really well. All right, but look at this. I want you to also look at the chart, but also look at something called volume, right? In the stock market, volume is how many shares that are traded during the day. So we look at the Dow Jones Index, and we can see, so there's average volume, and then there's the current daily volume. So the current volume was at 471 million shares, right? And the average volume is 528.2 million shares. So it's really a close relationship between the daily volume and the average volume, right? Right? So we want to do an average. So, but when that relationship moves far apart from each other, we have some concerns because therefore there's not a lot of volume in the market, and therefore stocks don't have a lot of liquidity. So therefore, usually stocks go down because that means people aren't investing. Maybe they don't. They think the market is overvalued, right? So we want to look at that. Those are some things that we want to look at, the volume in the stock market. Let's go to the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is actually up since last week, 53 points, right? But we look again, the average, the daily volume, and the average volume. And I cut it off. Apologize, but it's like 3.3 billion, right? And then the average volume is like 4 point something billion shares. So it's really close. The relationships have been really close. That means that people are really starting to trade and really putting there's volume, and people are really buying investments and putting equities in the market. All right. The last one is the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has really been doing pretty well since last week. I do a 1 week chart. The Nasdaq has moved up 418 points. People feel really well. One of the reasons is because there's a lot of the Mag 7s are reporting today. Man, my baby Facebook Meta has reported. I'm having a nice day tomorrow, but it's been kicking my butt because Meta was down since last quarter just for the fact of that it was not performing as well. They because of all the AI expansion, Meta has taken on more debt, right, and more expenses, right, and for technology companies, that's not what you really want to see. But that's happening now because of the build out of AI. And like I remember back in 2000 when they were building out the internet, right? And that was a concern because, and what's going to happen is they always overbuild and overestimate, but you have to invest in the future. Remember, we always talk about investing. If we want stocks to compound forward, we have to have a positive future. AI is the communication in the market for our positive future right now. So all companies have to, if you'll see, when they discuss and the CEO comes on and when they have their conference calls about the quarter, that you're going to hear AI, right? Because AI is a positive word. It's stating that what the message they're getting at is that we're going to have a positive future in our company when AI is included, right? When we build out our AI. Now we're going to have to invest right now, right, which is going to increase our expenses, but in the future, AI will continue to move forward. All right. So, man, in the news, Trump accounts. All right. So this is a new account. Man, President Trump is a very polarizing figure, but I do agree with this account that he's doing. I mean, I'm all about financial education, investing in the stock market. That's why I get on here every week. And his goal is for all kids born starting between 2025 and 2028 to have this Trump account. And it's an investment account invested into a broad index, which I love, right? I always tell people investing in the United States, right? When you invest in S&P 500, you're investing in the 500 largest companies in the United States. United States has the top 10 largest companies in the world. It's the greatest economy in the world. I know a lot of people are experiencing issues right now, and the economy is not doing well for everybody, but it's the greatest economy in the world in regards to the amount of companies. We have the reserve currency. We have the largest stock market. So financially, if you're participating, it's great. But if you're not participating, it can be kind of miserable. And this is not getting easier, guys. And I'm going to show you why on the next presentation about what's going on. So these Trump accounts is that the government will give in those accounts or kids that are born between that time frame $1,000 to start out with, right? And and is going to be investing abroad, S&P 500 index, and they'll be able to get access to those funds at 18 or 21. And upon some exceptions, they can access, I think, to buy a house, I think is great, to for education, I think is great, and to house, education. I can't think of the third one, but there's good reasons. We can just imagine with inflation and the cost of things, right? And we're going to discuss the value of the dollar. Is that what is going to be the cost of things in the future? We know education is not getting any cheaper, right? The cost of housing, oh my goodness, is not getting any cheaper, right? So we have to invest. That's why I'm on here. We have to invest, and I like investing not only in a retirement, but opening up a brokerage account that allows you to have control over your investments, right? So you can't just anymore say, well, I'm not into investments, and I don't this. Let me get to the next slide, okay, before I get into that. All right, because it is a must right now. You have to invest. There's no choice. All right, so look, let's get into the top performers in the S&P 500. SanDisk is up 101% from the beginning of the year. This is crazy, right? Moderna, right? They're up 68 points. And I was reading a little bit, doing some reading on my research on Moderna, and it's because they have a cancer drug that they're working on right now. And investors are really optimistic about this drug. I have to do some more research about that. Intel, the government has taken a position at Intel. Man, Western Digital, right? They're oh gosh. Western Digital is, goodness, storage device, enterprise storage device. So, man, enterprise and storage, because basically memory has become the new thing now. Companies that have memory for the next step in AI, right? And that's where it is. And then you can see the performance, Western Digital, right? And then Micron, another storage play. So these companies that are doing storage is the next step in the AI process, right? Where we had the chips, now we have the storage has become a big component this year. So man, these some stocks to look at. They are on a run. Have to be careful though, because when stocks run like this, and you don't know when they're going. So if you're trading, right, and you're looking to get into these stocks, you have to find a point where they take a rest, because they've been flying right now. So I mean, I've been trying to scan this. It's been crazy. And this is, look, I discussed SanDisk like at the beginning of the year, right? And I told you, and it's I think it was only up like 30%. And I was not able to get into that stock. It's just been trading. It's been on fire. And what happens is when the chart goes up like that, you're scared that that it'll crash down, whatever, because you never know when. After they build it up, and then they say, "Hey, look, I'm trying to get my money out," and then it becomes a cycle. So it's hard to invest when companies are basically rocket ships. But what we want to do is, when we have these trades right at the beginning, what we're able to do is take some of these trades. If we trade options, we're able to take some of these trades, and then we put it into our long-term portfolio, and then we put it into dividends, right? And what dividends do is dividends give us a time to relax and reflect while the market starts to go crazy. Because yes, the market will go crazy, but yes, there will be opportunities in the market where, once again, it's going to start discounting. That time machine is going to start discounting us. The bad news is going to start coming out, and everybody's going to be like, woe is me, all right? But right now, the stock market is moving, especially because the Mag 7 is reporting. So I'm going to get my money, put on the side, buy me some, increase my dividend stakes, so my dividend companies will continue to grow, and look for some more options. And I do that. And that's what I do for the put some plays in the club. All right, so let's go to the next one. Man, I wanted to show you guys this. This is the dollar index, okay? DX-Y.NYB. This is a US dollar index, right? This shows you the value of the dollar, rather increasing, decreasing. The value is down. Started the year close to 100 and is down at 96 per compared to US currency, $96, 96 cents on a dollar. The value has decreased, right? What does that mean to you? It means that the value of goods are going to go up, right? Of course, when the value of the dollar goes, things will cost more. That means your dollar that you're earning will not go as far, all right? Will not go as far. And let me show you a relationship, right? This is the gold index. Now you see, as the dollar index went down, the gold index has been going crazy. And these are all commodities: gold, silver, copper, palladium, platinum, man, and oil hasn't really taken off, but natural gas has. And that, they said, that's also due to the winter. So the price, we're gonna have some high prices for our heating and electric bills. If you're on the East Coast, or if you're dealing with this, or East Coast and Midwest, you're dealing with this snow, get ready for these crazy BG&E prices, which we have BG&E here, but crazy gas and electric prices that we're going to have to pay. But I mean, it's all because the value, if you look at it, the value of the dollar has gone down, right? Oh, I didn't know my face was, there we go. The value of the dollar has gone down, right? So this is really important. This is why we have to invest, right? Because as you see, as the value of our dollar has gone down, it means a dollar in the bank, you're losing money, right? Because the cost of goods are going up, right? So we have to invest. We have to find ways to put our money in other places. That's why we have to invest. That's why it's important to have the 3 portfolio setup that I have for the club, right? Dividends, options, long-term portfolio allows us to keep up with inflation. As these prices decrease, as the dollar goes down, as commodities go up, as our bills go up, become more expensive, we have a backup to that. And now it's like even more imperative that we do better. We have to invest. We have to put our money up. And as investors and traders, we already know that, right? And those of you who haven't started or on the fence, like, I don't know a lot about investing, if you want to know something, DM me, all right? DM me, and I can get you some information, as well as give you some information about the club. All right. So, man, once again, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Man, I look forward to Wednesday. Sometimes I'm kind of anxious, because finding new topics. But the stock market is always something going on, and I just try to bring information to you that you can use, right? And this week, you learned about Trump accounts. If you have kids, this week, you learned, the Federal Reserve, right? They kept rates steady. I didn't even get into that. The Federal Reserve kept rates steady, right? And another reason why interest rates or the value of the dollar could be going down, usually for 3 reasons: because inflation is expected, interest rates there's expectation that interest rates will be cut, right? All right, because so basically what happens is investors want to get money for, if they buy our bonds, they want a return, right? They want interest. The higher interest is the more return that they'll receive when they don't believe that they're going to get high interest. And what's happening now is, Trump's getting his new Fed chair in there, and he's expected to cut rates. So that's another reason, right? And then the third reason was twin deficits, right? We're dealing with the budget deficit right now. And man, we're going to go through that whole thing again. And the trade deficit, all right? I don't think we have a trade deficit right now. I have to do some more research about it, but those are some of the reasons why the value of the dollar will go down. All right, but doesn't matter any of that. We always have to invest. We find things to trade, and we take our trades and put them into dividends in long term and let it grow for us. And when we do that, then we can just not worry as much and not have to worry about it. But it's good for us man, I love finding new trades in the market, finding new things, and being able to move forward. All right. So I thank you guys for giving me a few moments of your time, right? And I always believe that investing is the right thing to do. And the Trump accounts are a bipartisan action, meaning both parties had agreed to doing this, and it's something positive. So if you have, or you having kids, think about opening one of those accounts. All right. Until next time, man. Think about investing in the stock market moving forward. And I appreciate you guys giving me another one of your time. And stay fruitful. Thank you.
The stocks keep going down, then boom, we hit new highs. Everything is different now, but you don't gotta chase. Don't panic, don't stress. Time to realign, plan it out, invest. It's the First Fruits Podcast. We elevating with the First Fruits Podcast. No time for waiting, time to grow.